All right, hello. Welcome to A Gay and a NonGay.
Hello.
What's going on? I'm Dan Hudson. I'm non-gay.
I'm James Barr. I'm gay.
We always start an episode with a question from the straight people, right? A question from the non-gays. So if you've got any questions that you want James to answer on behalf of gays, then do get in touch, as Ben has with this week's question, which is, why do gays always bang on about being yourself and then dye their hair?
That is a very homophobic question, Ben.
I don't quite understand, but is the point that he's getting at, if you're dyeing your hair, then that's not yourself. That's like an artificial... Is that what he's getting at?
I imagine that's what that means, but
Right.
I mean, I don't think that's fair, because that's like saying, why don't you just be naked? Why are you wearing... Like, be yourself. You can't wear clothes then. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's...
Well, you have to wear clothes, don't you?
Well, maybe you have to dye your hair.
Right.
And you don't have to wear your clothes everywhere. Sometimes people can be not wearing clothes.
Yeah. Well, not really. Not like just in the street.
Yeah, but I think clothes are a good example, because that's a way that we show who we are. Like, we wear different clothes to kind of show different versions of ourselves. Like today, I'm wearing a Sugar Babes t-shirt,
right,
to show that I like pop music and appreciate the work of Mucha, Keisha, and Siobhan. So I think it's quite a good example, actually. Wearing clothes is your identity.
Right.
And maybe dyeing your hair is also part of your identity. What do you think?
I don't really agree with the premise of the question. It's a bit like saying, oh, like, why would you get a tattoo? Because
yeah, it is, isn't it?
You're not... Everyone with a tattoo looks the same, and therefore...
Well, obviously they don't. But yeah, it's the same thing. It's like, well, we choose different things to be part of our identity.
Yeah.
And so dyeing our hair is also part of our identity. I do get it, though. It's a bit of an annoying question. Because I'm actually ginger, but like I dye my hair a little bit blonde.
Right.
So, but I'm still proud of being ginger, even though I dye my hair. And that probably doesn't really make sense to many people.
You're not representing your people, right?
What, by dyeing my hair?
Yeah.
Well, I think I am, actually.
Why?
Because... I think I look ginger, so I don't understand why people don't.
What, you think you look ginger without...
Like, even though I've dyed my hair, I still think I look like I'm ginger.
What, like your face is ginger?
Well, no, my hair's still ginger.
But it's not though, is it?
It is, like, some of it is.
Right.
Like, you can see my roots and stuff.
I don't know whether I can.
It's gone more brown now.
Right.
To be honest.
Okay.
Which is very upsetting, because I was really proud of being ginger, and then it went a bit brown.
Yeah.
So I could dye it ginger instead of blonde. Maybe I should do that.
Represent.
But I don't need to represent. I think we're doing all right now. Ed Sheeran's got this. To answer your question, Ben, I think dyeing your hair is part of who you are.
Yeah.
And you're allowed to do that. So maybe you should dye your hair.
Why don't you dye it for Ginger Pride Day?
I don't really want to be ginger.
You don't? Right, okay, so that's the root of the... Why not?
Because I was bullied a lot for it, and it was really horrible.
Yeah.
Everyone was really mean about it. So much so that actually when I realised I was gay, and I came out as gay, the bullying switched to me being gay.
Right.
And I had accepted that I was gay, so it didn't bother me. It was literally just like, whatever, mate.
But you hadn't accepted that you were...
But I hadn't accepted being ginger, so people would call me gay or perf or whatever, and I'd be like, yeah, well, I am. That's fine.
Yeah.
But as soon as they switched to ginger, I'd get really upset. It really bothered me.
Right.
And it still did for a very long time. I don't think I've really ever got over it.
Right.
And I've been fetishized for it as well, which I absolutely hate.
Which
you know, people saying, oh, I love gingers, like immediately on a dating app. And I'm like, great, block. Why are you talking to me? Like, why are you telling me that? It's so weird. Like, are you telling me that because I'm lucky? Because you think that I'm like, oh my God, thank God someone likes me. Oh, wow, I'm definitely going to sleep with you. Fuck off. Do you know what I mean? It's really horrible. How dare you just announce you like gingers? Why are you telling me that? Oh, it's so horrible. Oh, I love twinks. It's just no.
Right.
What are you doing?
You do though, right?
Well, yeah, but some of them, not all of them.
So you've never messaged a twink saying, I love twink?
No.
Really?
And actually, I've had twinks message me saying, do you like twinks? And I find that question uncomfortable too.
Why?
Because I don't know. I don't know, do I? I haven't met you. I haven't met you.
Yeah, but you know if you...
I don't know if I like... I can't just say I like every single twink.
No, but you can go...
I absolutely
so
don't.
What do you say then?
I think I was just like, sometimes.
Right. Well, I guess that is the... Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's why they were asking. I think they wanted me to say, yeah, I like destroying twinks so they could get off on it. Like it was a kink to find people that really only... Like, right. But that's not who I am.
Right. Yeah.
I don't see...
You don't like destroying...
No,
destroying twinks.
I'm looking for a soul, not just a hole. I'm glad we got to the bottom of it.
Okay, cool. Well,
have you never had an identity crisis like that?
About my hair?
About anything?
I guess I am having... It's not... I wouldn't describe it as an identity crisis, but I was growing a mohawk, but then I just go off the idea every other day.
Right.
So I've never actually put it up.
It feels like a midlife crisis.
Well, it's not, and also like that term is unhelpful.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Because do you not think it is? It's just thrown at anybody over the age of like 25 who decides to do something like out off the beaten track. It's just someone like, oh, you're in a midlife crisis.
Yeah, completely.
You know what I mean?
No, I do. Also, I've had so many midlife crises. So, I mean, I'm probably in another one right now. But it's quite a straight male thing to throw around. That's why I said that.
What is midlife crisis?
Yeah, I don't think gays have a midlife crisis. They just have a chaos era.
I think they
or
do.
A meltdown.
They do, but I think
you don't really have a midlife crisis. I think our whole life is a crisis. Don't forget, you can message us and ask us anything you want.
Yeah.
On Dear Queerdry.
Yes.
Our feature called Fagony Aunt. And we've had a message from an anonymous listener of ours today.
Yes.
Hi, Dan and James. I've just been wound up listening to your podcast. I'm worried I'm going to come across as a transphobe. Here are my thoughts on your episode about suing the NHS. I have no issue with trans women in women's spaces. I do have an issue with anyone being able to self-ID and abuse that ability. And that's why I think it's a bit iffy. You don't even have to present female. Then anyone could use that to their advantage. Someone sexually assaulted me. So firstly, you can't just self-ID. That's not a possibility. And that's not something I think anyone is even fighting for. They just want to make it easier to self-ID. Because at the minute, it's so confusingly long. It can take years and years and years for someone who's dealing with body dysmorphia to be able to identify as the person they actually are. But you can't just rock up as a bloke and be like, I'm a woman now. Well, actually, to be honest, you can do that. You can do that right now.
Yeah.
Because I could do that if I wanted to. I could literally walk into any bathroom I want. And who's going to stop me? There's no one on the door. I'm not going to get arrested. It's not illegal for me to walk into a woman's bathroom. What's illegal is abuse, right? But I can walk into any bathroom of my choosing, and sometimes I do in clubs. If like the men's is disgusting, I'm not going to do it. Or if someone's freaked me out, I'm going to go somewhere where I feel safe. I think the whole gender thing is completely arbitrary. When people use the argument or the conversation self-ID in this way, I think they are worrying about a certain type of person that could currently do that anyway. Self-ID isn't going to change, I don't think, someone's ability to just decide on a whim to identify as a woman to enter a woman's bathroom. They could literally do that anyway. No one's checking their ID. Let's continue with the rest of the message. Someone sexually assaulted me in a toilet after shutting me in a cubicle with them. That is just awful. Yeah. They continue. I went to a drag show and it was a massive gender neutral bathroom. Even though probably most of the men there were gay, I still felt uncomfortable because I felt vulnerable. And not just because it's already happened to me somewhere else. I fundamentally just don't trust men or anyone that presents as male. Again, I know it's not trans women, it's straight cis men. But as a woman, I feel like I want my spaces to be safe. You know? It's so easy to condemn people who don't agree with it as being transphobes. I don't know the solution because I absolutely want trans women to have rights and they are women. Just my own trauma and fear feels like it's not allowed. This is a great message and I'll jump in. Firstly, you're not transphobic or a transphobe if you have an opinion that could be considered to be transphobic. I think you can have a problematic opinion and not be a transphobe. This opinion is a little transphobic, but that doesn't mean you're a transphobe, and obviously you aren't, and you want equality for everyone, you want everyone to feel safe, you want all women to feel safe, and you completely respect and see that, and I think that's great. That's why it's a beautiful message. Look, I have trauma, and I have things that I don't want to relive because of what I've been through, right? I don't like watching violence in movies now because I had a violent ex-boyfriend. I completely understand why your trauma flares up if there's a gender-neutral bathroom, regardless of sexuality, because a man assaulted you in a toilet. Horrendous. But where were the staff? You've been failed there by multiple different systems. It's not just the fact that it was a man, is it? It's the fact that the world allowed a man to do that, I think. I don't want to cook. If a man came over my house and wanted to cook, that's a huge trauma. So it's a bit similar to, being in a gender-neutral bathroom and having men around. Because you're right back in the same scenario maybe you were in when that assault took place. And I understand that, but surely it's safer in a gender-neutral bathroom because you've got all sorts of different people there.
I mean, that's the point.
So all sorts of different people. I would say it's more likely that you're safer because you're protected by gay people, straight people, lesbian. Like, we're all there together. Trans people who, my God, I had so much trauma. If anything, you're safer with a trans person next to you because they know how to deal with this stuff. They get it on a daily basis. It's awful. So all I'm saying, really, I guess to put it into a nutshell, is look, I don't think you're a transphobe. This is very real, active trauma for you. So it's completely fine to express that and be asking questions. But the answer to your healing is not worrying about trans people. That's a smokescreen. The answer to your healing is dealing with A, the person that assaulted you, and B, how you move forwards with your own trauma.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I agree.
And I know, I say that with a huge caveat of I realise I'm being a little bit unsympathetic, but these are big problems.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to get worried about trans people who have such a shit time, just like you've had. Those two things are completely different.
Yeah.
And yeah, self-ID sounds scary when you think of it as being a straight man deciding to be a woman suddenly.
Yeah.
Just so he can abuse a woman. But he would do that anyway.
Yeah, I guess
he doesn't need permission. He doesn't need to change his birth certificate. If anything, that would be a waste of time. Why would you do that? It's just not something that will happen.
It sounds a bit far-fetched.
The problem is the press and the news shows and everything, they all jump on things like that and make it scary.
Yeah.
And that's why it's transphobic. It's not because it's a question that you can ask. It's not like, ask the question, do the research. That's all fine. That's not transphobic.
Yeah.
But the fact that they pour fire on these questions to trigger people like this is transphobic.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I guess I agree. But I mean, to answer your point, I don't really spend a lot of time thinking about this. I don't really want to be around women I'd rather be around blokes, if I'm honest, but I don't really want to be around them either.
I don't want to be around anyone.
No.
Actually.
Well, no, neither do I. But if I have to, I guess I'd rather be around blokes.
I went to visit my mum in Eastbourne and the men's bathroom on the seafront was closed. It was winter, but it was closed. But the women's was open. So I was like, fine, I'll just use the women's. So I went into the women's and obviously it's just lots of cubicles because that's what a women's bathroom is like. Yeah. And they're all completely closed off. So I'm literally in a cupboard, basically. And I used the bathroom and then I left. And my mum was stood by the door warning women that I was in there. And I was like, what are you doing?
Saying what?
Just, my son's just using it, by the way. Like, what are you doing? Why do you need to do that? And I questioned her. She was like, I don't really know, to be honest. But I'm like, it's a sink.
Say this person.
I'm going to get cancelled. So
say for this, say this person, for example, like Woods, who's been assaulted in a toilet, like is potentially going to get like triggered. They're potentially going to be like, oh shit, there's a bloke in the. Like I can 100% understand. I wouldn't go into. I would not go into a girl's bathroom because I can just imagine the shitstorm it would create.
I think it's insane.
But it's true. Do you not think?
But it's insane that's weird because they're just using a sink.
Yeah, but I understand that is not...
The only reason it would be weird is because there's a sign saying effectively women only.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to say that, does it? It could just say gender neutral and then it wouldn't make any difference at all.
But it does say that, and I understand that like that's like a space for them and not for me. And like I would just go, like, I just find a tree or something. Like...
Really?
Yeah, really.
Isn't that worse? No, men flash women all the time outside.
Out of public view. Or
how do you know you're out of public view?
Because I just would make sure that I was
See, I find that more repulsive. I would be more angry that you did that. Because if I was walking down the street and I saw a man pissing against a tree, I'm triggered. And I'm worried now that you're going to assault me. There are no specific laws that make it illegal for a man to use a woman's bathroom or vice versa. Bathrooms are typically divided by gender, but enforcement of these divisions is largely left to social norms rather than legal regulations. I don't think personally that some social norms are like in terms of gender split are serving anyone. That's how I feel. And I'm sure, I know people will disagree with me. I've had debates on Piers Morgan's show about women in sport and trans women in sport. Yeah. But I really do think women would be better off in a situation where sport is like split, not based on gender, but based on ability and body type and body mass.
I don't really want to get into the sport thing. I just think, are you a person that has an opinion on sport most of the time? Yes or no? No. Well, shut up. Do you know what I mean? Like, no, why do you suddenly need an opinion on women's sport now? Unless you are like, oh, I'm a football commentator or whatever. I always have an opinion on that kind of stuff. Fine. But otherwise, you've never mentioned, not you, ex-person, you've never mentioned sport ever.
But that's what's transphobic, isn't it? When people jump on something like that and get annoyed about it. And you're like, well, why weren't you talking about this?
Yeah.
Why weren't you questioning these things before? You've suddenly got an opinion on, we're not talking about our listener here. You've suddenly got an opinion on women's bathrooms, but you've never had an opinion on the amount of women that are abused on a daily basis in the UK.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one for me. Like 1 in 4 women are abused by a partner, and yet you've never talked about that.
We're going down the garden path. But the point is, I'm still not going to use...
What gender is the garden path? Because I don't know, is it male, female, or is it a gender-neutral garden path?
I'll be going down the garden path to find a tree or whatever, or a bush or a hedge.
Please don't piss up against trees.